We have to confess that the central problem of our lives is that we are torn between our attraction to the good news of God's abundance and the power of our belief in scarcity. The central problem of our lives is a choice between our attraction to the good news of God's abundance and the power of our belief in scarcity. We're surrounded inwardly and outwardly by the message that there is not enough. There is not enough to go around. So we must hold on for dear life to what we have. We are not enough either. Not good enough, not beautiful or handsome enough, not successful or rich or famous enough to be happy, satisfied, whole. So we better keep grasping for more, because who we are and what we have is never enough. Now, in our country, we're told that there's just not enough to go around to spend on assistance for the working poor or to make room for desperate people on our border. It's strange because we constantly hear that we live in the greatest and strongest economy on earth, yet here in our community we are also told that there just isn't enough to address the issue of affordable housing fully. But oh, by the way, corporations need tax relief if we want to keep growing the economy, and we definitely need more resources for the military to protect what we've got, our way of life. It's confusing. Is there enough or isn't there? Our president wants to build a space force, I heard, and hold a $12 million military parade in Washington, so there must be more than enough to go around. Yet, at the same time, his administration wants to cut housing assistance to the poor and many other things. A recent article in the New York Times put it this way, around one issue alone. The country is in the grips of an escalating housing affordability crisis. Millions of low-income Americans are paying 70% or more of their income for shelter, while rents continue to rise and construction of affordable apartments lags far behind the need. The administration's main policy response, unveiled this spring by the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, is a plan to triple rents for about 712,000 of the poorest tenants receiving federal housing aid, and to loosen the cap on rents on 4.5 million households enrolled in federal voucher and public housing programs nationwide. Because I guess there's just not enough. There isn't enough to go around. Resources are scarce. But I'm not here to talk about politics this morning. I'm here to talk about us. About who we are as people of faith and followers of Christ. I'm here to talk about the good news of God's abundance and what that means for our lives and how we live them, because whether we are liberal or conservative Christians, we have to confess that the central problem of our lives is a choice between our attraction, our trust in the good news of God's abundance, and the power of our belief, the fear that arises when we focus on scarcity. All too often we choose the script of scarcity in our personal lives as well as in our lives together as a society. As Brueggemann puts it, the gospel story of abundance asserts that we originated in the magnificent, inexplicable love of a God who loved the world into generous being. The story of abundance says our lives will end in God too, and that this well-being cannot be taken from us ever, that nothing can separate us from the love of God. With this understanding of our lives, we can live according to an ethic whereby we are not driven, controlled, anxious, frantic, or greedy, Brueggemann writes, precisely because we're sufficiently at home and at peace in the world to care about others, just as we have been cared for by the Creator. Today's scripture readings, you heard it all over the place in today's scripture readings, and I didn't pick them. They came to us through the holy lectionary, wherever that comes from. Came floating out of the sky dust, so that was just all there. You, O God, are near to all who call on you, to all who call on you in truth, the abundance of God toward us spiritually. But also very concretely in terms of meeting our basic needs. You open your hand, satisfying the desire of every living thing. The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food in due season. As well as in language that inspires us to overcome injustice, you uphold all who are falling and raise up all who are bowed down. You are just in all your ways and kind in all your doings. This is our God, according to our scriptures.